You guys heard of Sonic the Hedgehog? Sonic the Hedgehog, love him or hate him, you gotta admit that the Hedgehog has changed countless people's lives and created one of the biggest fandoms on Earth. Even during times where the series has faced mediocrity, the fans took what they had, clung onto it, and made the best of the blue guy. Because at the end of the day, I feel like there's one thing that we can all agree on. The concept is cool. Sonic as a character has so much potential. It's such a crazy and out there idea. You could basically take him anywhere and make him do anything, and it would make sense. You got a fucking blue hedgehog with Santa boots. He can do anything. I'd probably nod my head. Go to the moon? Easier than filing taxes. Turn into a werewolf? Is this child's play? Kissing a human? I couldn't do it. However, this sentiment doesn't just go for stories. It also goes for gameplay itself. You see, when you have such an up and down franchise like Sonic in terms of being good, a lot of people look at the bad games and think, I could make something better than that. Oh yeah, then why don't you do it? Don't look. Introducing the world of Sonic Fangames. Don't like what Sega's putting out? Leave it up to passionate fans of the series to take that blue blur and give them a better treatment than Sega. Fangames, if you don't already know, is when a single and/or group of people who have a passion and appreciation for a certain IP or franchise, usually a video game franchise, create a completely original game using those characters and worlds. If we go back to one of the earliest Sonic Fangames, Ultimate Flash Sonic, you can see the age, yes, but you can also see the love and passion for Sonic present in the game. These people make these games not for money, but because they have a legitimate love for the franchise and want to create new experiences for other people with that same love. Now, as time went on, Fangames will get more and more advanced and, well, fun to play. We started getting some classics like Robo Blast 2 and Utopia, which offered a completely different style of gameplay compared to what was being officially made. And throughout time, there would be games that almost transcended Fangame status and basically entered the Fangame Hall of Fame, as I'll dub it. Games such as the ones I mentioned, and others like After the Sequel, Sonic World, Mega Mix, and some others. However, what happens when you get a game with so much quality that completely gets filtered out and just goes under the radar? There's a lot of these that I'd love to point out, and I've seen nobody talk about them. However, there's one in particular that stands above the rest. One that stands out from the crowd, and one that should have been more iconic than it was. And that game was, please like and subscribe if you enjoy so far, Sonic GT. And hey, if Frontiers isn't any good, well, we'll have this. Sonic GT started out as a way for an amateur game dev, Gabriel Gonzalez, aka Greedy, to actually get into learning a programming language so he could finally commit to his passion, being a game dev. What really ignited his passion was finding out that he could make his own Half-Life levels with the Valve Hammer editor. Ever since, he loved making levels, and this love would eventually translate to his first fan game, Sonic GT. Now, the beginning of Sonic GT can be traced all the way back to late 2018, early 2019, via these extremely early builds of the game which track the status of development and how the game was going. He started off his first level prototype with Hilltop Zone. The reason why he chose Hilltop Zone can actually be traced back to an interview where he stated, "Hilltop was selected because I didn't want to make another Green Hill," which, okay, yeah, that's fair. This level would be showcased for a good while until another level, Hidden Base, would begin development. But not too long after this, the very first demo dropped, and while I would love to play it, it is sadly a completely lost relic to time, as the Google Drive link is expired. However, we do have footage of it, which is nice. As time went on, more and more dev updates would be released until the first demo under the name of Sonic GT would be released. While obviously still a work in progress, the game looked extremely promising, seeming to focus a lot on momentum and keeping that said momentum. The demo itself was a pretty nice time and really made the future of the Fangame look bright. Skipping ahead, more and more demos would release, and eventually, Sage 2020 would be on the horizon. For those of you who don't know, Sage is a yearly Fangame convention where primarily Sonic games are shown off and released for the public to play. And with Sonic GT being near completion as the convention was nearing, well, now is the perfect time to finally release it. Before I get into the actual game, I cannot stress how crazy this game really is. The levels, actual development, everything involved that was coding was done all by Gabriel. He had a few people do voiceovers for the characters and a music composer to help, but aside from that, This was a complete one-man team, which is absolutely insane. But now for the moment you've all been waiting for, let's actually take a look at the game. The story is relatively simple, but actually carries a lot of charm that a lot of recent Sonic games have lacked. First and foremost, don't expect anything amazing from the voice cast, as they are in no way professionals, and it's pretty obvious. Although I can't really hold it against them, since Gonzalez made the game himself and just had to scrounge up a few voice actors that could record. And while not amazing, with what they were given, they did not do half bad. The story of Sonic GT starts off with Mighty receiving a transmission from Eggman saying how he has Ray, and if he wants him back, he has to meet him at the Ocean Paradise. Obviously, Mighty agrees and makes his way over. Cut over to Sonic and Tails already in Ocean Paradise, where Tails hears a scream and sends Sonic to go investigate. This cuts into gameplay, and after progressing a little, you find Mighty messed up by some robots in the dirt. Sonic saves Mighty from the robots and they team up to go save Ray. The rest of the story follows a simple premise. You play as Sonic as him, Tails, and Mighty go from place to place trying to find more info on the whereabouts of Ray, usually meeting with someone to learn more info on where Eggman has him. After getting through multiple zones such as Hilltop Zone and Sunset Boulevard, a mix between Speed Highway and Studiopolis, they finally make it to the hidden base, where Ray is held captive. After making it through, Sonic is faced with one final threat, the hard-boiled egg tank. Sonic swiftly defeats it and the gang frees Ray. Lost in celebration, however, they notice Eggman escaping and go to chase him, as they leave Ray. This leaves Ray by himself, and leads us on a cliffhanger as Metal Sonic enters the frame. So all in all, while the story is basic, there's something I noticed in the dialogue that actually makes me enjoy it a lot more than games such as Forces, Lost World, Colors, and so on and so on. And that is charm. The dialogue is extremely charming. Mid-tier voice acting aside, I remember about 2 years ago playing the game at launch and instantly having that exact same thought. That, wow, this dialogue has a whole lot of charm that the newer games have been missing. I'm not saying this is a Van Gogh and Sonic script form, not at all. However, I can see that the writers have a pretty good knack for characterization and script writing when it comes to Sonic, and I really have to applaud them for that. But now onto the meat of the sandwich, the gameplay. Let me divert from Sonic GT directly and point your attention to the core focus of... I can't exactly think of the word, but let me explain it to make sense. In classic games, there are 3 core traits of beating a level, and beating it fast. You have momentum, fast reflexes, and maintaining speed. Your momentum is what grants you extra speed down a descending field of land, like a downward slope. Fast reflexes are, well, self-explanatory. You see an extra route that is presented to you, or a bottomless pit, something like that. Your ability to react to something appearing on screen to alter the outcome of that level, such as time. Maintaining speed is, well, very self-explanatory. Keeping your speed without running into a speed bump. Those are the core elements that make up a run of Sonic 1, 2, CD, and 3. Now, swapping over to modern games like Adventure, Unleashed, Colors, you keep most of the attributes the classics had. Fast reflexes, maintaining speed, however, you end up losing momentum in the process and have 3D space take over in its place. 3D space is exactly what it sounds like, no longer being in a 2D plane, but now we're presented in a 3D one. But that's it. You may get updated visuals and more impressive backgrounds, but we now have a core part of what made Sonic fun lost, and mind you, this is not me dogging on the 3D games. I actually prefer them to 2D, it's just, critically, that's something to point out. That's where Sonic GT comes in to save the day. Rather than replacing or removing one of these core elements, it decides to combine all of them actually. We now have fast reflexes, maintaining speed, 3D space, and momentum, all in one. And we actually get a brand new one, freedom. You see, the way modern Sonic games have worked has been very linear. Even when you've been given more quote-unquote freedom, like in Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, it's always still felt very linear. Like, you could walk around, but there's really no places to go except forward. Forward is the only place that has anything that progresses me through the level. With GT, let's take a look at the very first level, Ocean Paradise. Not even a millisecond into the level, you are already presented with not 1, not 2, but 3 directions that you can go to alter your run. You can just fucking go forward if you want, which can get the job done, but you can also go up using this ramp to get an alternate and faster route. Or you could build up enough speed to run on the water to your left and skip a part of the forward route. Oh yeah, and did I forget to mention that using the forward path splits into 2 more paths? Oh, but wait, that's not all. After you get to where the paths all meet at one spot, you are presented with 2 more paths that, when followed, open up into 3 more paths. Oh yeah, and hell, if you wanted to, on some parts of the level, you can even jump from path to path. We are only about 30 seconds into the level, and we've already been presented with more non-linear gameplay than an entire set of stages from Unleashed. It's not like in boost games where your movement is limited to you going straight forward, essentially. GT Sonic is way less restrictive, allowing for more ways to approach an obstacle or challenge. Anyways, with all the smart stuff out of the way, dude, holy shit, this game is just really fun. Learning the mechanics of the game has a massive reward, and that reward is you having the most fun experience you can have in a Sonic game. Gaining speed and momentum is extremely satisfying, not because of, well, the gained speed, but because of the visuals that accompany it. When you reach a high enough speed, Sonic will get this trail behind him which looks really fucking good and indicates how fast you're going. Gaining enough speed can also make it so when you run off a ledge, you can absolutely soar, and it's one of the most satisfying feelings ever. I think this game achieved what the classic games did, and that was making it feel good to maintain speed. Now I can talk about this and that, but hearing its praises doesn't even do it justice, so please, play this game yourself. I've provided a download link in the description for you to play it yourself. So with that, I guess that's the end for Sonic GT, right? It's left on an infinite cliffhanger with no sequel in sight. Well, yes and no. Yes, there will most likely never be a Sonic GT2, but no, since Gonzalez is actually making another Sonic-inspired game called Project Rascal, so it's most likely the next best thing. Real quick, off script for a second, but there was an entire section where I was supposed to talk about music, and I just forgot. So real quick, I'm just gonna play you a second, and just listen to this. Alright, that's enough. Go listen to the actual music yourself. I've also provided a link in the description for the fucking music, because holy shit. If you enjoyed, drop a like and subscribe. If not, God's watching, and I'll see you all again very soon.